Welcome to Game Changers Collective. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the world of commercial real estate. Ashley Walker has closed over $250 million in transactions, making her one of the most dynamic voices in the industry. She's not only a top producing CRE professional, but also the founder of the CRE Mentor, a course designed to empower the next generation of commercial real estate leaders. Ashley has built her career by breaking barriers, mentoring others, and proving that success in this industry is about more than deals. It's about mindset, relationships, and strategy. In this episode, we dive into her journey, what inspired her to create the CRE Mentor, and the practical advice she has for anyone looking to level up in commercial real estate. Get ready to learn from a true game changer. Here's Ashley Walker. Today, I'm joined by Ashley Walker. She is an expert in the commercial real estate field, and we are going to get into all things commercial real estate and her exciting new course today. Ashley, it's excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So, Ashley, tell us what really got you into the world of commercial real estate.
I didn't plan to be here. It was not a career goal of mine. And after being with other colleagues in this industry, they've kind of said the same thing. But I had started out waiting tables in college and just trying to work and go to school all at the same time. I thought I was going to go to law school. I did go to law school, but I thought that I was going to be a corporate attorney. And so that was kind of my path. And while I was waiting tables, one of my regular customers was a real estate developer. And he had asked, like, why don't you just come work for me? I've got, these projects that we're doing and could use some help. And it sounded interesting. And it sounded like it had some flexibility to it because I hated that I had to work full time and go to school full time. I wanted the college experience and just wasn't able to have it. And so that seemed like a way for me to kind of get the best of both worlds. Like, I'll still have to work, but I can maybe schedule my own hours and it wouldn't be all the late nights or whatnot. That's what got me started into it, and I liked it, but I was doing lot assemblage, so it was taking, let's say, 100 different parcels of land and calling all the owners and trying to get them to all sell, and then you collectively sell that to a home builder. So, it was fine. It wasn't my favorite part, of commercial real estate, but it did give me that first glimpse of, like, autonomy and freedom, and so I knew I liked that, and I ended up going on in my career to do more of the corporate role and did the corporate ladder and loved that as well until, you kind of reach a ceiling and you realize like this is it and they kind of own you and there's a salary cap and it was just kind of like, well, what am I doing this for? I can't see my friends, I can't see my family. I've got a glass office with my name on a parking spot and unlimited PTO, but I can never use it. And so it was one of those things that was like, all right, if I could go back to commercial real estate, I will if there's an opportunity. And I had done healthcare software sales between that first assemblage job I was talking about to the corporate, national director of sales job. And so that's kind of how it just blended into, healthcare and commercial real estate.
Got it. So you've pivoted to healthcare as a niche that you're very familiar with. What really sets that aside for someone who might be interested in commercial real estate? Where does healthcare kind of have your attention?
Yeah. So for me, it was personal relationships. It's, like I said, I had sold healthcare software sales. So I had a lot of physician relationships. And when they knew I was doing commercial real estate, again, they were like, well, can you help me with an office? And, one referral led to another. And before I knew it, I was doing majority of healthcare deals. I would say what I like about it is just being able to help people and that the business that you're helping is helping, the community around you. So providing healthcare access, locally to markets. But I think each person has to pick what they like. That might not be everybody's thing, dealing with physicians or hospital administrators or directors of real estate for hospital systems. They may like more of the industrial or warehouse or retail or office. Everything has its kind of like the glitz and glamour of that industry, and you just kind of finding what your niche is. I wasn't looking for it; it kind of found me, but I'm thankful it did because it was something that kind of flew under the radar. Not many people were doing it, and healthcare real estate wasn't like an actual thing then. And I just got to have my clients and make good money and I enjoyed it. And then COVID happened and everyone found out how great healthcare real estate is and how recession proof it is and what a great investment it is versus like maybe the stock market and it's more volatile. And so that brought out, more competition, which I think is good. Competition's a good thing, but it definitely made, new healthcare brokers come out of nowhere. in a sense. And so it allowed for more opportunity, I think, and just more developments throughout the state of Florida, especially with everybody moving here.
And so this is primarily a male dominated field. How do you help women break into commercial real estate, specifically healthcare?
Yeah, so commercial real estate definitely is more of a male industry, and I don't even know if the percentage is correct, but the perception is that residential is more female. And I would just say that women can serve a huge purpose in commercial real estate. There's a lot of attributes that women have, being very detail oriented, being able to connect the dots for people and really understand like what they're not saying, being good listeners, being aggressive to get deals done. There's a lot of women really great at that. And I think that there might have just been a stigma in the past that it's just too much, too many numbers, too much financial analysis, or the barrier to entry is high. And I feel like that is accurate, but it's only because there's not someone out there trying to educate and help. And so I just want women to know, like, do this too. And, there's a lot of women that are great at it. It doesn't have to be a boys club. I'm not saying it's for every woman. It's not. It's hard, but I think women really bring a lot to it and can be very successful in the career.
What was a mindset shift that you had as a woman that really helped you to kind of just like burst through that and be like, I can do this?
Think I was born that way. I think I have just always felt like I can do whatever, not in a cocky way, just in a, well, okay, I want to do it, just like a goal setting way, like just I don't know, just not accepting no. You could ask my husband, he gets so annoyed at the amount of questions I ask because if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking until it does. And he's like, oh my gosh, just take the answer. I'm like, I can't, my brain can't do it. So I think for me, that's just it's a little bit more natural. I don't, I wasn't looking at it as like I'm a female trying to get into a man's world. I never looked at it that way. It was just this is what I'm interested in. I wasn't interested in the residential piece and it's a little more of an emotional buy. I prefer numbers and facts and things that you can like rely on, and strategy and things that just like running a business. Like that is what that's been my background and that's what I gravitated towards. So for me, it just made a lot more sense, to do this sector. And I think the mindset shift for continuing that because, it's still it can be challenging, especially in the beginning when you don't know many people and the broker community is small here in Orlando and they don't just let anybody, come play in the sandbox necessarily because they want to have you kind of earn your stripes in a sense. So I think just pushing through and realizing, like, I hate to say fake it till you make it, but there were things I didn't know in the beginning that I was like, we're just going to try it. I can't do anything but try because I didn't have that person to teach me every single thing about commercial real estate and teach me step, 1 to 100 of what to do. It was kind of like, here's some bits and pieces, but figure it out.
And so you mentioned Orlando. What are some of the hottest trends in commercial real estate that you're seeing in Florida right now?
I think probably adaptive reuse of spaces. So, you've got the Seminole County Town Center, that mall that's been having a whole redevelopment project of movie theater, multifamily, retail, office, restaurant. So, I think you're seeing a shift of things that no longer are serving the community in the way that they were being reused and repurposed for, what's more modern. We're also seeing like in healthcare specific, it's more patient centric. They've always been competing for patients in terms of systems and practices, but now it's about the patient experience. And so physicians aren't building just sterile clinical spaces anymore. It is more about this warm, like friendly environment. It's got nice furniture that's comfortable. There's artwork, may have a drink beverage station, in the waiting room. Also like the convenience and accessibility. So for patients to be able to have an iPad, at check-in and be able to fill in everything quickly or being able to log into a portal at home, message their doctor, reorder prescriptions, all of that convenience, it's the way of the world now. And so I see healthcare continuing in that direction.
What mistakes do you see physicians making in real estate?
I will narrow this down to like one response. I would say, they're busy being physicians. Their full-time job is not looking for real estate or expanding or any of that. So I think when they don't hire someone, and this isn't a broker plug, but it's true, if they don't hire someone kind of advocating for them, they tend to overlook some things that would be important and maybe make a quick decision because it solves an immediate need. But if we really sit down and look at, okay, what's your long-term plan? What services do you want to offer? And if you get to X number of patients, what other services do you want to add? How many providers do you want to have? Do you want to add another provider in the future? And if those long-term plans are there, then I really, if we can, if the budget allows, I want to try and make that real estate decision, whether it's a lease or a purchase, match it. So what I hate to see is you get 1,500 square feet just because you want to be in Winter Garden. So we found it. Great. Let's move in so we can get going because we've got a waiting list of patients. Awesome. But now Winter Garden's full, 6, 8 months later, and you want to add a second provider, but all your exam rooms are full and you can't. Or you want to add an ancillary service that will bring in more revenue and you can't because you don't have the space. So, things like that where they're not planning for the future, at least a little bit ahead, and they're only looking at the immediate need. And then also just the layout of the space, common red flags of, the parking being an issue. Looked great when you toured because you toured at 6 o'clock at night. But then, when you're there during the day, it's jam packed. Things that seem little, but will end up making a difference because some people will make a decision based off of that, or not being able to have an expansion right in your lease, and so you can't add more space if you want to. Just things like that that they overlook because they're busy doing their primary job. So that's what I see the most of, just running too fast, which I get.
Yeah, so it seems like long-term planning is really key here. So how do you future-proof a property?
I mean, kind of like what I had said, it's really looking at other expansion opportunities. Does it meet all of your clinical space needs? Are there additional services that are going to require bigger room dimensions than what you currently have? If you're going to add a procedure room later, or if you're going to start doing procedures in house, do you have a big enough treatment room for that? It's not a standard size room typically, depending on the specialties. I think future proofing, if there is such a thing, it would be just knowing where your patients are currently and where your future patients, where you're trying to get them. So you're in markets that are growing. You're not showing up late, where, yes, you got patients there, but that's kind of it. There's no more going to get added. But if you had gone, 10 miles north, that's where everything, is booming and you would have captured both. I think just really being strategic and knowing what your business model is and who you're targeting, what the payer mix is in your area or the area you're looking into, and really making your decisions around that. Really, again, just trying to look a few years out and planning for the best, meaning we're going to expand, we're going to be busy here, we're going to add these services, versus kind of expecting not the worst, but just like what's current is it.
And so you've done over $250 million in transactions. That is a huge accomplishment. What are some of the lessons that you learned through that process?
There's so many. I would say some of the lessons are always work for tomorrow, because you think you've got a deal done and it doesn't happen. And then you get discouraged, which could snowball into how you handle the next lead, the next call, the next client. And you just never know with commercial real estate and or sales in general, you never know what's going to happen. So when you get that phone call, or you had that listing appointment and you think it went really, really well, only to find out it didn't, or you didn't get it. Maybe it did go really well, but you still didn't get the job. You could be very discouraged, but you never know what that did. So there's been plenty of times where I get a call and someone's talking to me about a property that they have. I'm like, well, I'm not ready yet. And you're like, oh my gosh, we just spent an hour on the phone. I thought this was like a done deal. And so then, you wait. But lo and behold, when that comes back around 6 months, 2 years later, you never know. And it comes back around, they call you and like, okay, we're ready. You're not mad. Like it might be disappointing that day, but you're not mad 2 years later when you get something out of the blue that you're like, oh, yay. So then it's like perfect timing, even though you kind of waited a while for it. So I would just say keeping that mindset, because it can be very frustrating if you don't. And I would say also is just putting the client first. I think always helping other people gets you further than anything. So relationships matter so much in this business. It's who you know more than what you know. I mean, you need to know good reputation with your clients, with colleagues, other people that do this job. But you really want to build those, because you'll never be successful on an island. You're not the best broker in the world all by yourself. It just never happens. So there's such a team of people throughout Orlando that you're working with to make it happen.
So for people who are interested in getting into commercial real estate, what would you say are some good maybe questions to ask themselves or first steps to take?
I mean, I think I would ask them, why, of course, why commercial real estate? But I think if someone is looking to do it, I'd want to understand like their work ethic. One where I worked and got like leads given to me. Like they didn't just come in and I just called them. and then we just made the sale. Like that would be great. But that's not how it works. And so with the way I have had to do it is been more proactive. And so you get the listing to then get the leads to then, and you cold call and you're building relationships and you're networking. So do you have that in you? Do you like people? Do you want to make other people successful? Because what I enjoy about the job is being able to meet other vendors, attorneys, lenders, and people in marketing, interior design, furniture, all the pieces and parts that go into commercial real estate and refer them business. That's fun to me. We get to meet who they are, what they do, and then you refer them business and everybody's happy. And then the client gets, great service. And that's what I'm not saying it like a charity, like I don't want the business, but I am saying it like it means a lot when you can share that with someone else and then you see it grow and you hear how like they had a great experience and that person's really happy. That's fun. So I would just want to make sure they're a people person. Do they like working autonomously? There's not a lot of direction. You really got to be a go-getter and someone that's like, okay, let me figure this out. Let me really investigate. Let me look and see what's out there. You're not just handed this, thing on a platter and say, okay, call this person and you've got it. It's just a lot of grind. And so as long as someone's willing to put in the work, it has so many great benefits if they have that stick to itiveness, as my dad used to say, and can really persevere through all the challenges.
Right. So someone they can rise to this challenge, they're going to show up, they're going to be a go-getter. And, if they're interested in moving into this field, I know if you've just created the CRE Mentor course, which is so exciting. Tell us a little bit about that and why you really made
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I just looked around, I've been very blessed in this career. I love what I do, but I had friends and in my family, they're teachers and they're amazing at what they do, but they were able to like, be off during the summer and all the times the schools are closed, they were home with their kids. And I was like, oh, I've always been in the business world. That's just never been a thing. But once I had my kids, I was like, man, that would have been great. I see why I see why they did it. And I know that's not why they did it because they're excellent educators. But I would say what I wanted to create was something similar for myself. So I wanted to have the best of both worlds. Thought again, I didn't think no was an answer where I was like, I could do that. I could be very successful in business and I could be as close to a stay at home mom as possible. And that to me, I mean, my kids were in school, so I wasn't, actually a stay at home mom because they weren't here during the day. But for me, that's what it felt like, where I could be the person, picking them up from school, being room mom, not missing a single thing at school. But then also being able to meet the goals I wanted in commercial real estate and crush it there and feel successful, in the business side as well. And then afford to do fun things with my family, like go spend the summer in Hawaii, Because of that, I would have friends that would say, I want to do what you've done. And I got so much of that and not in a like, I'm amazing way. It's not me. It's the lifestyle that I was able to create. And so I wanted to share that. I was like, why not let everybody do this if they want to? I know it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants to sell. Not everybody wants to live on commission only. But you know what? If you want to, you can. And I think that is the part where I felt like maybe women just don't know that. And I thought if you guys all look at this and like that's really cool, I just want to empower people to do that, empower people to make the change and start something new that could afford them the lifestyle that they're wanting. Because it doesn't mean you have to love commercial real estate. You don't have to love selling a building or developing one, from the ground up. It doesn't have to be your passion, but it can certainly be a vehicle to what is your passion, which could be, the work-life balance of being able to make at least six figures a year while still kind of part-time working, with and having your family and being a present mom and friend and wife and all the things. So I know it probably sounds a little unrealistic or idealistic, but I know I've done it. And so I know it can be done. And that's why I just want to at least try and share that with the world.
So why 100 modules? What makes your course different from other trainings?
It could have been 1,000, but we did 100 modules because I wanted something that is thorough. I wanted a nice, thorough program for the basics of commercial real estate. There's a lot. There's a lot to cover. And without boring someone to death, there's a lot more than 100, modules out there. And these are only 5 minutes, a piece. So they're digestible chunks. But given everybody the baseline, help you understand what the basics are for commercial real estate, because I also have, beyond that, group coaching which would allow you to take it a step further. But everybody in the group coaching, in order to apply, has to have at least some knowledge of commercial real estate. I can't start someone in group coaching that has no idea. So that was like a good foundational tool as well to be able to have. And then when we're teaching you okay, how do I do this? Well, that's where I come in, and it's a little bit more one on one versus, a video module, because it's just kind of hard to explain that way. So the 100 modules seems like a lot, but it really isn't. It just kind of gets the surface of the basics of commercial real estate so people can understand, like, do I like this? Do I like hearing about this terminology? It's not as scary as I thought, or it doesn't have as many details as I thought, although I'm sure it will because it's a lot. But yeah, so that I just tried to paint a good picture, for
And so what are your favorite student success stories, people you've mentored over the years?
You know, I used to be a corporate trainer in a previous life, and I just love being able to see someone start with like no knowledge of something and be really frustrated and confused and kind of fumble through it. And then after a little while, a little practice, some education and more practice, kind of see them take it and own it. And that to me is just like, yeah, that's cool. And so what the most recent example is Danielle Covey on my team. And when I had hired her, she had no experience in commercial real estate or sales. And I think that was great because everybody else in the past that I've trained, I would say they've all had sales experience. I could be wrong by a couple, but for the most part, I was training salespeople, right? So they knew what to do. And she really came in green on sales and real estate, but was hungry and wanted to learn. And what I loved about it was she'd come from, target executive leadership background and coming in and just learning everything. And that is the beauty of being able to mentor someone, is she gets to work on all of my stuff. And so she was able to work side by side with me, for 3 years of, you're going to run, I mean, I do 30 to $50 million a year in transactions. The amount of transactions that is a lot. So you get lots of repetition. Well, that's how you learn in this business. You want to see all the different scenarios because there's millions, there's so many different things that happen. And when you're new and you're trying to get the new listing and you're trying to close your first deal, you would love to have had some experience with it before you're trying to fumble your way through it and you might lose it. And now here you're going back out again and you've got, $0 because you're on commission. So what I like to do is make it more of a gentler way of learning it, where you can have that cushion and safety net, which is me, and learn everything. And you get to see all that experience. Seeing her in those 3 years go from someone that did not know and then never cold called. So teaching her all of that, and she was just great anyway. She's just a great person. And seeing her flourish now and doing 15, 20 million dollars a year as her first couple years in brokerage is amazing. So that to me is a super big success story because, I think her fear was, well, I was working on your stuff. What if I can't do it on my own? I'm like, I know you can do it on your own because I've watched you do plenty, here by my side for 3 years. And sure enough, she did. So seeing her like see it for herself has been really cool.
That's amazing. And what advice do you give to a new CRE professional?
Man, don't give up and really just trust the process. So if you've got a mentor, listen to them. And I would say find a mentor if you don't have one, because it's just so hard on your own. And there's just you could be doing things wrong and you just don't really want to do it that way because that's your reputation and those are your clients and you just don't want a bad reputation. I work off of mostly referral now. And so, like, if I didn't have a good reputation, then those referrals would not be good. And so I just want to encourage people to have someone to help you get started. It doesn't have to be me, but anybody in your local market or anybody that that's like the successful person in your market that you see out on social media or anything like that, ask questions, meet them for coffee or something. But I think that is helpful. And then also trusting the process that someone teaches you, because it's a roller coaster. There is no straight line. There is no, right up the hill to the top. Like, it just doesn't work that way. It's like all over the place, but it will happen and success will happen and it will come, but you just have to keep pushing. And so I would just encourage people that are starting out to really hone in your skills in a niche. Like, find out what you want to sell, what do you want to represent, what do you want to help people buy, and go after it. So really have a clear vision of what you want to do make your roadmap and like keep your head down and keep going.
How do you keep your energy up in such a high demand industry?
I would say one is just doing something you're passionate about. I think that helps naturally keep you energized about what you're doing because it's exciting. For me, at this stage of my career, it's the coaching piece that's the exciting part and building the team and all of that. And I think that is what kind of fuels me nowadays. I do love deals. Don't get me wrong. I love to do deals and I'll always do them. But I think in the beginning it was the excitement of landing one or closing it or winning it, so to speak. And a little competitive. But to keep the energy up now, I would say it's taking care of myself. And so it's making sure I've got the discipline in place and a routine. So it's up early in the morning before my kids get up. It's reading my Bible, it's exercising and getting them off to school, and then having my day like intentionally planned. And I already know what it's going to be, obviously, well before that day gets here. And same for the home life. I know what our meals are all week. I know what our routine is for the week. Everything is just organized and scheduled. There is a team of people that make it all happen, but I know where everything is going, what we're doing, and how it's getting done. So it alleviates all of the mentally draining things where you have to think about it in between. I think when you even though some people don't like to plan that early, it takes so much weight off, during, which gives you more energy just to execute, and that's what you want. So I make sure to schedule my day with lots of human interaction because that is where I get the most energy. It's where I love people and I love to meet clients or vendors or anybody in my team and just having meetings and talking. And that's what brings me joy. So I make sure that there's some of that each day as well.
Amazing. And so, Ashley, if people are interested in working with you, they're interested in the course, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they find all this?
So for working with me, it's at Ashley Walker CRE on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then we also have at the CRE Mentor on the same platforms, and that is for the coaching. So you're able to go to the CRE mentor.com and sign up for the course. We have a new course launching, like the actual 100 modules you mentioned, that's launching now. So right now there's a free download that gets you on the list to hear about it first when we launch it.
And tell us about that free download. What can people get right now?
Yeah, it's just a free download of common things in commercial real estate, common terms or questions you might have, just to for the people that are just like, well, what is this about? And it'll just be a nice little quick download for you to see like what's commercial real estate about. Am I interested in finding out more? And if so, then you could do the 100 modules on your own. They're online videos that you can do at your own pace. And then for those people wanting to level up, their career, there's the group coaching with me, that's once a week, and then beyond that, we'll have a mastermind for people that are already in commercial real estate trying to take it to the next level.
Beautiful. Ashley, thank you for everyone listening. You can go down into the call notes and you'll be able to find all of these resources. If you are interested in commercial real estate, Ashley is the woman for you. So, Ashley, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Cassie. It was great.